I always ask the same question to every new client. Every client we interview every week. Okay, were you born out of your mother's womb with advanced questioning skills and advanced tonality, or is that something you learned and acquired?
Actually, I learned it from you, Jeremy.
Okay,
and
had to learn it. You had to learn it right now.
Yes.
From what I understand, like I said, I made a mistake. I posted that you're 71. You're only 70.
Only 70.
Only 70, right? Okay, you're only 70, very young 70, I can tell.
Right.
And, this is quite a unique story because our vice president of sales for our global company, Chris Manicius, he told me about you. I didn't even know you were, we have thousands of clients, and he's like, hey, look. And he posted this, I guess you had posted a testimonial in the Sales Revolution Facebook group. And he's like, hey, that's my actual father-in-law. And I'm like, what? That's your father-in-law? He's like, yeah. He was like, because we hired Chris probably, 6 months ago? We brought him in about 6 months ago because he had been a client the year before. And we always, like any type of corporate executive or any type of account executive that's talking to people about our training programs, we always bring in that have actually gone through our training programs and then got big results using them. We don't hire outside of that because there's no need for that, right? And so Chris had made a lot of money after he went through, he was in our advanced inner circle program, and he was actually working for another company that sold sales training when we were training him. I was training him how to sell more of their sales training products, which was very weird. I'm like, I'm training other companies that are sales training companies how to sell their sales training. That was very unique. And so what Chris told me is that you were looking for like a sales job, and he said, hey, and you saying like, hey, should I buy this XYZ product that you sell, Chris, at this company? He's like, no, don't buy that. You need to buy Jeremy Miner's, advanced training. How did that story go down? I have to hear that.
That was so true. He I watched him. We both sort of ran through a little crisis, a big crisis. He had a business, it crashed during COVID.
Yeah.
I had a physical thing that happened to my spine. And, and so he bounced back. He bounced back beautifully.
Yeah.
He's a bright, ambitious guy that's, and he's a pleasure to be around.
He is.
And he's a great son-in-law. And he called me up and he said, you're coming out of this, you're back on your feet again. You ought to look into this.
Yeah.
You'd be great at this. So try this. And he turned me on to NEPQ.
Yep.
And it's a small story. I called up to sign up and I got Dan Van, who's one of the sales.
Dan's one of our account executives, one of our top people, one of our team leaders too. He's in our Australian office. Yeah.
Yes. And so get on the phone with Dan and he goes, well, why do you want to do this? And I said, well, I was paralyzed a month ago and now I'm back on my feet and I'm alive. I felt like Frankenstein getting off the table and ready to go back to life.
Yeah.
And he coincidentally had the same thing wrong with his spine that I had. Okay. And we bonded over this. And I was the worst sales call he's probably ever had because I'm the guy saying, just give me the price. Just give me the
You're one of those guys.
Yeah,
right? You're one of those guys that hate when your prospects ask you that. But when you get on the calls, you want to ask us that. I love that. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, what did he say when you said that?
He said, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
I'll get to that in just a minute. Let me ask you a question. And so he was very skillful at asking questions. Yeah. And he was a wonderful person to deal with. He put me at ease, brought me into the program, and I signed up for NEPQ 3.0.
Yeah. And then I want to share like a little golden nugget with everybody. So whatever you sell, if you get on a sales call, or let's say you're on Zoom, maybe it's an inbound lead, or maybe if it's an outbound lead to some type of lead generation system, or maybe you're in a boardroom and whatever, and the prospect says, without you first knowing what their problems are or any discovery, says, well, just tell me, how much is it going to cost me? If you tell them there, you're pretty much dead 95% of the time. However, if you try to ignore it and sweep it underneath the rug, you're also dead because it's going to trigger sales resistance. So you have to disarm the prospect. So I'll give everybody a little tip there. You just simply say, oh, yeah, you just agree. Like, oh, yeah. We'll go through all that. Now, just so you're aware, we don't have just like one product or like, one program. We have many different options, and it really all depends on, kind of where you're at with XYZ. whatever that is, whatever you sell, compared to where you're wanting to be or like what you're trying to get to. And once we see kind of what that gap is, then at that point, I can show and kind of go over all the different options we have for our clients. Would that help you more? And you know what they're going to say? They're like, oh, that makes sense. For example, and then you're going to ask one of your first situation questions. The reason why you want to agree with them and go through that process is you acknowledge them, but you don't have to give them the price, and that disarms them. So you acknowledge it and tell them that, what I just went over. There's a few tweaks depending on your industry that we can teach in our virtual training platforms. And then it disarms them where they open up and want to engage. I had to throw that out there. I wanted to give a little golden nugget we're doing here. Okay, so Joseph, so you get into our advanced 3.0. Now, this is before you had a sales job, because from what I understand, you were working at Lowe's because you had kind of retired, like semi-retired from your previous career, right?
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, I hate the word retire.
Right.
I'm one of these guys that is like the Energizer Bunny. I'm very active. I love to learn things. I love to explore things. And when Chris got me and I got into NEPQ, it was because I had a sales job years and years ago where the guy just gave me a phone book and a phone and said, start with A. And so it was kind of a baptism by fire, but there was no training. There was no technique, really. And then when I came across NEPQ, it was like, the scales fell from my eyes. It was a real opening. And so
we always say, like, it's like the red pill or the blue pill. It's like the major, right. Take the blue pill. It's like, it's like everything comes off your eyes. You're like, oh my gosh, I never saw this before. And it's right in front of my face. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will say this, my employer checks on every call. He contacts every client that I talk to.
Okay.
Without exception.
Yeah.
They say the call went great. He was wonderful. He's they don't even think of me as a salesperson.
Now that is what we want.
Yeah.
Because once we start to really understand NEPQ, once we understand how to disarm prospects where they want to engage and be open with us and tell us the truth, the great thing is they don't view you like a salesperson. They quite literally view you as the expert in what you're talking about, in the trusted authority who's going to get them where they want to be. And they don't view you as a salesperson. In fact, that's what you want. The more you can get them to not view you as a salesperson, the better. Because if they just think of you as some pushy salesperson, it brings up all this negative, notions of everybody else that's tried to push them, manipulate them before trying to sell them everything. And they just put you in that same category, and the wall of resistance comes up. So that's really good sign if people are telling you that, just so you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really good. All right, so let's go back. So you kind of semi-retired, but I don't want to retire. So you go to work at Lowe's. Some accident, right?
Right. Injured my back.
Okay.
It turned into this. I thought I just pulled a muscle. It turned out that I was laid up for 9 months with this degenerative infection in my spine to the point where I was paralyzed from the waist down.
So you're not even able to walk?
Couldn't even walk.
Okay.
In fact, the scariest part of the whole thing was when two 70-year-old friends of mine, we're all surfers. They came over and they had to pick me up in the wheelchair. And I'm like, oh, these guys aren't strong enough to do this. But I made it. And so, all of that came through. But as I said earlier, it's not about how we go down. It's really the story about how we get back up.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Like, hey, look, God puts us through trials and tribulations to make us grow if we choose to grow. We can also choose to digress, right? So we all have, it doesn't matter if you're a multi-billionaire compared to somebody homeless on the street, you're all going to go through different trials and tribulations. However, it's how you react to those trials and tribulations and what you do that will determine the path you go down in your life, right? So you're like, hey, I'm going to do something about this. I'm not just going to sit around. You talk to Chris. You start going through NEPQ 3.0 before you even got a sales job.
Right.
How did you land that sales job?
I asked Chris. I said, Chris, how do I get a sales job? He says, you network. You reach out to people. And he gave me some names, and I reached out to them, and I reached out to some other individuals. And someone said, pretty quickly, I got a couple of offers where like, send us some information, send us a clip of you, talking about yourself. And so I did that. And the this offer for Wall Street Mastermind came along, and boom.
Boom.
And
Okay, so you get into this, and I think this is a really, you have a really good product there, a really good service. It's very niche specific, right? I've never thought about that, but yeah, there's definitely a need. College kids are not taught how to get an investment banking job, which is one of the most hardest positions to get in, especially if you have no experience. Obviously, and out of college you wouldn't, right? So you guys teach them the skills how to do this big problem that is solved. Now, let's walk back. So you get into 3.0, you get into the job. Let's go through your progression. Okay, because it's not like your first month you made 25 grand your first month.
No.
Let's walk through, because you're going through a learning curve the first 30 days. It's a new sales job. You're learning how to sell. What type of results did you get your first month? And then let's walk through each month.
So the first month, was getting acclimated, learning their script, me kind of NEPQing it.
Yeah.
And so the first month, which I think was March of this year, I made about $4,000.
Not bad starting out. You're building your pipeline. Okay.
Exactly. And I was very happy with that. It was, it was certainly a big leg up from what I was making working at Lowe's.
At Lowe's, yeah, right.
And a lot less wear and tear on my body. And so then the second month, it got up to about 8,000.
Okay, so you doubled. Now, what caused you to go from 4 to 8 in your mind? Like, what did you learn maybe in the second month from NEPQ that you just didn't quite understand that first month?
Probably the thing that I started to stress more was solution awareness.
Okay.
So that I was able to create that gap that you were just describing before.
Yeah.
That I could create that gap. And it's not a manipulation. It's a matter of awareness. The way I look at it is that most of these students don't know what they don't know. But
you bring up an excellent point here. Let's talk about that for a second. This is for everybody listening right now. He said something very valid. Most of your students, prospects, whatever they are, don't know what they don't know. So most of them, when you're selling them, and it doesn't matter the industry, don't even know they have a problem. Or maybe they know they kind of have a problem, right? But they don't really know how bad that problem really is. And maybe they don't really understand the consequences of what will happen if they don't solve the problem. Now, as Joseph knows, we can't tell the prospects what problems they have, because that does what? It goes in one ear, out the other, right? You're the salesperson, you're biased, right? They don't even hear that. But our questioning skills is what Joseph's just talking about. Start building a gap from where they are, their current situation. That's why we call them situation questions, current state, compared to where they want to be. We call that their objective state. Now, what's the gap? The gap is only determined by the skilled questions you learn, and not just reading them off a piece of paper, but the delivery and the tonality that brings out their emotions and helps them feel the pain of what the problem is doing to them. All right, so your second month, you're like, okay, you started learning how to articulate solution awareness questions better to build a gap. So you went from 4 to 8. Now, where did you go from the second month to the third month?
Next month was from 8 to about 13, 14,000.
Okay, so you took even a bigger jump. You went from 8 to 14. That's quite a bit. That's a what is that percentage wise? That's like a 60, 70%.
Yeah, about 70%.
What was the difference between the second month and third month? What did you now know by the third month that you really didn't quite have a grasp on the second month?
I think during that month, I got real comfortable with this, because one of the things is that these students they're high achievers. They're generally 4.0 students. And be frank, they're very smart, and they can be rather intimidating.
Yeah.
But one of the things that came out in the next month was some confidence in the questioning process.
Okay. What caused you to have that collective confidence in the questioning process your third month compared to the second?
Results.
Yeah.
Results. You'd ask these, strategic questions, these well-constructed questions, and you would see, these are very confident individuals.
Sure.
And you start to see them start to question, oh, I don't know this. Maybe I don't have all the answers.
Yeah, because I'm assuming a lot of these people get on calls and they think like, hey, I'll just maybe do it myself. I'm smart. I'm a 4.0 student. I'm the top of my class. I can figure out how to get a job in investment banking. Why do I need Joseph? Why do I need this company? So your questions allow them you hit it right on the head, start questioning and doubting themselves within your industry that they can do this on their own. When you're able to create that doubt in their mind, then they become more open to what you're going to offer them, right? Okay. Exactly. All right. Now let's talk about, so your first month you make 4, the second month you double, you make 8, you're coming through the learning curve. The third month you go to 14,000 in commissions in 1 month. Now, here's the thing. A lot of salespeople, they make 13, 14 grand. They're like, they just shut down their learning. I know everything about sales. I make 14 grand a month. Like I'm in the top 2 or 3, 5% of the nation's income. What do I need to learn? Why did you keep learning after the third month?
Because I'm an insatiable learner.
Okay.
And it's what I found was, hey, the money's great. I mean, it's a real
more than loves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's an inner game that goes on where I'm always competing with myself. So I want to learn more. I want to be better at what I do, no matter what I'm doing. Yeah. And so I just kept gathering information, learning, reviewing, practicing, listening to sales calls.
Now let's talk about it. So your third month, you're at 14. What did you make your fourth month?
I think it was 23,000 and change.
Okay, so let's just say 23. We'll
say 23.
Round it down, okay?
Yeah, round it down.
14 to 23, that's a big jump. 14 to 23 in your fourth month.
Right.
The fourth month, what had you learned and more mastered or got closer to mastering than what you knew your third month?
Boy, it's a combination of qualifying questions and the transition questions into close.
Okay.
I mean, that sort of, the closing became more subtle.
Tell me what you mean by more subtle.
Well, instead of saying something like, where would you like to go from here? I started to say things like, well, in terms of everything we've covered, does this all make sense? Does this process feel like something that could land you a position in investment banking? So again, it's questioning, and it's all I'm doing is opening doors for them, doors, and then they
opening more possibilities in their mind. So what you just asked there is a version of what's called a commitment question, right? So instead of saying, do you want the red one or the blue one? When do you want to sign up? Tomorrow at noon? Or like that, none of that stuff's old school. It just doesn't work, right? Especially with sophisticated buyers. You're talking to college grads that are usually in like very prestigious schools that have 4.0. They think they know everything, right? It's not, people are like, oh, they're just college kids. No, they're very sophisticated buyers that you're talking to, all right? So they're you're not going to pull one over on these kids, right? So, okay, so what we've went over, do you feel like this could be the answer for you? Or do you feel like this could really land you the job you want? Yes, I do. What do you say when they say, yeah, I do? What do you say?
Why?
Why do you feel like it is?
Why do you feel like that?
Yeah.
Can you hear your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so you learned an NEPQ probing question. Yeah. Now, one thing, you might already be asking this, but I'll give you a little tip here, and this might help other people here. So when they say, yes, I do, you're like, oh, well, why do you feel like it is? They're like, well, it is because of this, because of that. Well, but specifically, though, see, in your industry, Joseph, since you sell like a training program that has different parts that trains them to do different things to like land the job as an investment banker, you can use this to your advantage. Okay, but specifically, what parts of the training program do you feel like are going to give you the best opportunity to land the job? Well, that part when you went over this and this part over here about this, that even takes it up another level as far as another probe. You can use that if you're not using that already.
Exactly. I actually do use that.
Oh, you do that? All right. So you're all right. I figured you learned that. I just didn't know if you're using it. All right. That's good. Yeah. Now, okay. So you made 23 the next month. Now, from what I understand this month, you're on pace to make about the same 20, 22, 23 or something.
Yeah, probably a little less, but yeah.
Yeah. Now, here's what I always tell everybody, because he told me on that. It's like, I'm going to make a little bit less this month. Am I doing something wrong? Not necessarily, because for most people, most industries, I'm not saying every industry, but for most industries, your two lowest months are usually July and August in most industries. Now, in your industry, because we train a lot of companies, your industries too, it is the two lowest months besides Christmas, just so you know, because people are out of town on vacation. They're harder to get a hold of. They're a little bit more flaky because they're just hard to get a hold of. They're out and about. They're on vacation. They want to be out. You know, they're going here. They're going there. You kind of get them back into, you know, early September. Everything kind of goes back to normal. So if anybody's on here wondering about like, oh my gosh, my sales are down in July and August, and it depends on the industry. You know, if you're in landscaping, you should have really good months in July and August. But it depends on what you sell. In his industry, July and August are going to be really the two lowest months besides December 15th to January 1st. Okay. So well done. So even if you make close to what you made the months before, pretty good. All right. August, you should be around the same. And then in September, you're going to start seeing, you're going to be able to get a hold of more people. More people are getting back to you. Things will start to get back to normal and your income will keep going up if you keep learning.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's key. That's very, very key.
Okay.
You never, at least in my philosophy, you never stop learning.
Because what happens if you stop learning more advanced skills?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, what happens if you stop learning more advanced skills?
You flatline. You stagnate.
What's gotten you here, how can it ever get you to here as a salesperson?
Right.
You can't. What, are you going to work twice as many hours, everybody? You're already working 8 to 10 hours a day. You're going to work 16 to 18? That's not humanly possible, right? So if you're at here with whatever your income, what you're saying and what you're asking has gotten you here, but how did it ever get you up here? It can't. You have to learn more advanced skills that work with human behavior. Any last words of advice you'd like to give anybody here that might be new to sales, like you were at the ripe young age of 70, or might be a veteran is like, hey, you know, I'm already making 12, 10 grand a month. Like, why do I need to learn how to make more? Any words of advice you'd give them?
I mean, I'm going to sound like a poster for NEPQ, but it's so effective. And the use of tonality and the decisive questioning is so important and so effective. And listen, I have so much fun doing what I'm doing. I mean, this is a blast. You know, it's hard work, but I enjoy every minute of it. I think I take, you know, I don't think the gentleman that I work for has ever seen anyone. As a matter of fact, I didn't tell you this, Jeremy, but that month when I made $23,000, I also broke every sales record that he's had since he started business 6 years ago.
What were his thoughts on that?
He was very happy.
You made him a lot of money for sure.
Yeah, and I'm happy.
And that's the thing that we have to all focus on because, look, we all know it's coming. If the government starts telling you there's no, you know, we're not in a recession, that means we are really in a recession. And they're going, I went through this in 2008 and 2009, just like you did, Joseph, just like a lot of you on here. Everybody in the government said the same damn thing. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. They're all going to say the thing. No recession, no recession. No need to worry. No need to worry. And then the next day you wake up and they're at the podium of the White House. We have an emergency. We're going to have a $12 trillion package to save the economy. It's Armageddon. And you're going to be like, what? You just said yesterday that everything was fine. So everybody just understand. When the government starts saying there's no recession, there is a recession right now. And you're going to see in 2 or 3 months from now, you're going to see the same thing that happened in October and November of 2008. Mark my words. And here's why I'm telling you this, okay? As a sales professional and as a business owner, you want to prepare yourself with having a skill level to not just thrive or not just survive the upcoming recession, but to actually thrive in it. Because I can assure you, any weakness in your sales ability right now that you have will only be magnified times 10 when the recession happens, because the prospects you're talking to now are going to be even more skeptical, even more cautious, even more careful than they have ever been before about making the wrong buying decisions because they have uncertainty in what's going on in the economy. So they are going to hold on to their money far more than they are now. The lay down sales you're getting now are going to be chopped down by about 80 to 90%. And your sales ability will determine if you keep your job, or even if you keep your job, where your income's going to go. Because if what you're saying and asking right now has gotten you to this income, and you keep doing the same thing, and the lay down sales start to go away, guess what's going to happen to your income now? It's going to go down if you even keep your job. And the industry I was in when the recession happened was the debt relief industry. I was in B2B sales right at that point. I'd started about a year before. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the year before, I made $785,000 in commissions. All right. The crash happened. About 50% of the company I worked for got laid off in 2 months. Like they just like, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. You walk into the office, like half the office is freaking empty. You're like, oh, I'm still here. Now, I was still there because I was the number one salesperson in the company, in the industry at that point, even in my first year. My income doubled the next year. Every other salesperson in that entire company, their incomes went down 25 to 50 to 100%. Some of them went from making 180 grand the year before, the next year they made 75. They made 80 grand the year before, the next year they made 35. Like literally, they were looking for other jobs because their sales ability, when it became harder to sell using the same thing, incomes go down because you don't have the lay down sales. So it is coming. I hate to tell you this, so we can either prepare and learn advanced skills to thrive in it, or we can sit back and hope and pray that the president or Congress or your favorite senator is somehow going to magically save you. That is not a good position to be in because nobody's coming to save all of you here. Nobody's going to save you. Okay. When they announce there's going to be a $2 trillion package, guess how much money you're going to get? Not very much. Maybe you get a check for $500. You're not going to be saved. I hate to tell you, they're not going to give you $1 million. All right. Let's all be honest with ourselves. So we can either prepare by learning advanced skills right now. So when this goes down in 2 or 3 months from now, you already know what to do. You keep your job because you've risen in the ranks. So they're not going to get rid of their top salespeople, and you go out and make more money. Joseph, your thoughts?
It's absolutely true. I mean, this is, if you're not busy growing, you're busy dying. So grow. I mean, it's so important. Listen, I'm no youngster. I'm 70 years old. I feel like I'm 28 years old. I still read voraciously. I'm so in envy of Jeremy's bookshelves behind him. I mean, he's got a ton of books. I got
lots more books than these.
Yeah. And
it's like 20%.
It's important to grow. It's important to keep learning, because otherwise we stagnate. We absolutely stagnate. And what you say about the recession, I mean, I've lived through a number of recessions, and you know what? Every time we've had a recession, we've come out of it, and we've come out of it better and stronger.
The strong will survive.
Absolutely.
The weak who are where you're at and keep doing the same things, your income will go down. I can assure you, I will put millions of dollars on the line on a bet that if you keep selling exactly the way you are right now at the same skill level, and your prospects, it becomes harder for them. They're not going to release their money as easy. The lay down sales are not going to be there. I can assure you, I went through it in 2008 and 2009. The lay down sales dried up. Okay. So you have to get very, very much better at building a massive gap in their mind. Because here's the thing, every prospect you talk to, even in a recession, still has problems, and you still have the solution to solve that. But the missing link is your sales ability. It's going to determine which side of the fence they stay on, either the status quo where they never do anything because they're scared of releasing that money because of the recession, uncertainty, or bringing them over to your side of the fence to actually solve their problems and get where they want. It all depends on your sales ability. So we can prepare now. We can learn the right skills that work with human behavior that will put us a pack ahead, 10 levels ahead of every other salesperson in your industry, in your office. Or we can just hope and pray that there's not going to be a recession and just hope somehow the president or Congress or your favorite senator, somebody is going to magically save us. That's not probably a position you want to be in. Hopium is a drug. Don't take the hopium drug, kids. Somebody posted that here. Hopium kills. Hope and pray is not a position you want to be in. Like, look, people always say like, oh, God's going to provide. Yeah, but God feeds the birds, but he doesn't drop their damn worms in their nest. Right. You have to go out and do something. Yeah. If you're waiting for a miracle, God will provide in a recession. Well, yeah, he does, but he doesn't feed the birds. He doesn't drop the words in the nest. You have to go out and do something, right? we're here. You can learn those skills. You just got to take action. Joseph, I appreciate you being on.
Hey, Jeremy, thank you so much for this interview, for having me here. And thank you so much for NEPQ. It was really a game changer for me.
You're an inspiration to us all, young man. I appreciate it. Joseph, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy. All the best.
Thanks very much. Enjoy New Jersey. I know it's getting late out there.
It's great.
All right.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Hey guys, if you enjoy these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're gonna help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.